You're watching the Coaches Roundtable on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Welcome to Coaches Roundtable. I'm Ed Codi. To my right, the Swami, George Abraham. To my left, the Tiger, Albert Campman. Guys, we go to basketball, top scores. The boys lit up the Nets last week. Maybe more than we've ever had before. Devin Carney of Butler games of 39 and 34. He averages 28.9 per game. Cole Brooks of Seneca Valley, 34 and 24. He averages 24.4. Levi Orton, AC Valley, 33 and 29. Steve Antuono of Elwood City, 32. He averages 16.3. Mahali Safanos of Mars, 30 and 20. He averages 16.4. Ryan Lang of Knock, 28 and 26. He's averaging 26.4. Kalen Bender of Wilmington, pretty good all-around athlete, huh, George? Football, basketball, he had 27. Maddox Clement of Butler, 26. Sal Laurie of Rochester, 25. He averages 16 a game. Luke Lawson of Seneca Valley, 24. Connor Matalone, North Catholic, 24. Chase Bailey of Carn City, 22. Devin Heemer of Rochester, 22 and 20. J.D. Azule of Rochester, 22. Ben Lane of Freeport, 22. Joey Petcash, Pine Richland, 22. Connor Oros of Seneca Valley, 21. Seneca Valley has some scores. Connor Lysick of Seneca Valley, 21. He averages 17.5. Sheldon Cox of Newcastle, 20, 16.9 average. Nathan Waltman of Carn City, 20. Joey Dudkowski of Pine Richland, 20. He averages 18 a game. Joseph Roth of Elwood City, 20. Michael Conley of Beaver Falls, 20. And Ethan Plesikoff of Slippery Rock High School, he had 20. For the girls, Alexis.
Hold up. You know what you have to do? I think it's coming to this. If we stay around long enough, you're going to read off 30s. You're going to start reading only 30, only 30
I
or
think
more.
It's the most
Jeez,
most boys
you're
we've
not
ever
kidding
done.
for sure.
Does anybody guard?
Nobody guards.
Well, I'm going to get to something here in a second. Alexis Robinson of Rochester, 31 and 20. She averages 17.9. Anna Kadlubik of Slippery Rock High School, she had 23 and then 18. The 18 put her over 1,000 career points for this three-sport star.
She's really good. I saw last night on Twitter that she had gotten it and they had a little balloon thing or whatever, but she's a good player.
Ashlyn Pry of Montauk, 21. I know she's averaging over 20 a game. And Dominica Logue of Union Reimersburg, she had 21. In wrestling, congratulations, Seneca Valley team. They win their fourth straight section wrestling championship. And Alejandro Herrera Rondon, who's 21-0 on his season, he won a school record, a 157th career win. He is an Oklahoma recruit. And in football recruiting, Carn City tight end linebacker Nathan Waltman, 6'5", 240. He commits to Slippery Rock University. He celebrated with 20 points in his 62-46 win over Keystone. And North Catholic wide receiver Nick Meyer, 6'2", 200. He commits to West Virginia. The last 2 years, he's caught 75 passes for 1,400 yards and 20 touchdowns. Let's go to our basketball power rankings. Boys, 6A, North Allegheny, Upper St. Clair, Fox Chapel, Pine Richland, and Hempfield. In 5A, Newcastle, Chartiers Valley Highlands, Mars, and Penn Hills. In 4A, Bell Vernon, North Catholic, Montour, Lincoln Park, and Elizabeth Forward. Number 1 in 4A, Bell Vernon knocked off undefeated number 1 Newcastle in 5A. Surprised?
Not a surprise at all.
Beat them last year in the playoffs,
They
too.
beat them last year, so I don't surprise at all. And it looks like 4A is really loaded. 4A is the place. You don't want to be in 4A. It's the truth.
And in 3A, Shannick remains at the top undefeated, followed by Avonworth, South Allegheny, Aliquippa, and Shady Side Academy. In 2A, it's Carn City, Greensburg Central Catholic, Carlinton, and Fraser. And in 1A, Eden Christian, Rochester, Bishop Canavan, Imani Christian, and Mapletown. For the girls, 6A, North Allegheny, still undefeated, followed by Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, Bethel Park, and Norwin. In 5A, it's Trinity, Charvel Valley, Armstrong, Latrobe, and South Fayette. In 4A, undefeated Beaver, followed by Knock, Quaker Valley, Southmoreland, and Blackhawk. And in 3A, it's North Catholic, Mohawk, Laurel, Brentwood, and Avonworth. And in 2A, Sarah Catholic, Neshannock, Olsh, Burgettstown, Winchester, Thurston. And 1A, Rochester, Aquinas Academy, West Green, Clareton, and Eden Christian. And Laurel knocked off previously undefeated Knock, gave them their first loss.
George and I know the Laurel coach, and he does a fantastic job. They really play good basketball.
He almost beat Bellwood last year in the state playoffs. I mean, tough call later. He might have had him.
Now, I was just checking the scores last week, boys and girls, some of them, a lot of them with the girls' games. These scores, 91-9, 37-5, 70-27, 65-10, 60-10, 51-13, 58-18, 68-17, 61-21. There are 58 boys teams with losing records and 60 girls teams with losing records. I'm just trying to think this open playoff system, a team that's maybe 2-18 that suffered some of these 50-point losses going into the playoffs and playing a top-seeded team.
My thought is two things. Number one, you want to go compete and you want to do the best you can, try to get better for next year. Or if you're going to play one, you already played this team, you already got beat by 70
50.
points. You might opt out. You might opt out and not play. It's a tough choice. I had this talk with a couple coaches this past week, the exact talk.
I just hate to see a team get embarrassed like that again, losing 91-9. Then you're going to play that team again in the playoffs.
I don't have an answer for that either, Eddie. You're right. It's crazy.
If they don't opt out, then you have to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell your kids not to play hard. It's just a difficult situation. I hate to see any team get embarrassed and humiliated like that.
91-9, 18-8, they're not winning. In other words, if it was 39-20 or something, maybe, but when it's 91-9, they're not winning.
And then the WPL threw in an addendum to this. Those teams that will only play other teams that wear a mask, and if it doesn't work out, then it's a no contest. They're telling those teams now, you need to declare before the playoffs about the mask rule. If you're going to adhere to that, it's better that you don't play.
At least they're coming out and saying it. I like people to at least lay it on the line. I don't like the wishy-washy way. They know. The coaches know you're going to do it or you're not,
But you know, I've had pictures from PG, the Eagle trip, and some of the masks are worn underneath the chin.
Keeping the COVID off their neck.
Just don't wear
like
them.
that either.
They're not wearing them for wrestling. Why are they making them wear them for basketball?
I was looking online last night. The Altoona girls were playing the Guilfoyle girls. The Guilfoyle girl had her mask on her neck. The Altoona girl had her mask up. Well, what's the rule?
There's no straight across the board regularity about this and enforcing it. Our stories of the week: NFL Super Bowl, NFL Super Dud, Tampa Bay 31, Kansas City 9. So much for me picking Kansas City to score 34. Tom Brady 21-29, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half, 2 to Gronk and 1 to Antonio Brown. His 7th Super Bowl win, 5th time named MVP. As far as I'm concerned, it's subjective. I'm putting him at the top of the athletes of all time as the greatest when you come to championships. And, he said he's coming back next year. I don't know what was going on with Kansas City. I guess you give Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, a lot of credit for Tampa Bay. The only highlight in that game for Kansas City was a goal line stand. And Mahomes was harassed, sacked 3 times, 2 interceptions. It reminds me of the line in The Cincinnati Kid when Edward G. Robinson said to Steve McQueen, "You're good, kid, but as long as I'm around, you're second best."
Well, the line of scrimmage was dominated by Tampa Bay on both sides. And Eddie, on this show, if there's something I've said over and over and over, I don't look at the skill, I look at the line play, and both line of scrimmage, offensively and defensively, were dominated.
Yes.
Dominated by Tampa Bay.
Yeah, the Tampa's front defense and the scheme, those delayed blitzes were perfectly timed. Give Todd Bowles a lot of credit for it. And Bruce Arians gives a lot of credit offensively to the coordinator, Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, but I thought the story of the game was Mahomes ran over 500 yards getting away. Mm-hmm. So that means he didn't have a clean pocket all day.
No,
What it proves what we say all
no
the time.
deep threat.
No.
Everybody around the country talks about quarterback play. They all look the same when they're on their back and they get rushed. They all stink. When they got time, and Brady stood like this and looked. It's amazing how good you look. when you don't get
And
rushed.
he got sacked once, I think. But here's the thing about Brady: you have to give him the more than just what he does on as a player. He elevates everyone around him and how they play. He goes to Tampa, no camp that they had, so he's learning this offense right from the beginning of the season. They said in the beginning there were a lot of mistakes with the calls and the terminology that he had. But then you saw after they were 7-5 and had the bye week, they finished by winning 5 straight.
Well, he's one of the ones that we love because he thinks nothing but winning. That's his thought. You'll hear him all the time elevate the other players, say how much he appreciates what they did for him. And in the back of his mind, his ego's up here. But he lets it come down with his teammates, which is the way to
And
do
then
it.
it's already rubbed off. Evans said, give some of my money somewhere else.
There it goes.
If it'll keep somebody here. Now you got guys who maybe have never won, like Antonio Brown,
Right.
calling and saying, hey, I'll play for the minimum. He got a $750,000 bonus. That wouldn't matter with his old contract.
Right. Gronk's coming back. Great game for him, 6 for 67 yards. He looked really, really good. And he's another one with a great attitude, elevates the play. Brady's said he's going to play to 45. I don't doubt him.
He looks like he's 25. He takes care of himself. That's the other thing that is not written enough. I'm telling you, he really George told me what he eats, what he drinks, what he does. He takes care of himself completely.
And this was over 10 years ago. He got away from the weights and went to the bands and the
Hey,
stretching.
and
It's
how
kept
about
his
the-
flexibility.
How about the water? He drinks an ounce every day for every half pound he weighs. So he drinks 110 ounces of water every day.
Where's he get the time to do that?
I have no idea.
I'm a
Well, he
little
sent
bit
the
behind
family
that.
away for 12 days.
That's what I was going to say. That's all you got to know.
Yeah.
He told
He's
me,
totally
listen,
focused.
I have to be by myself for 13 days here. Send his family away.
Well, how about Tampa? What a year for them sports-wise. Tampa Bay Lightning, Stanley Cup, the Rays in the World Series, and now the Bucks win the Super Bowl. Just
Still
a great,
looking for
great
that
year.
manager. It took Snell out.
And they still get no fans in baseball, no fans in hockey, but they do draw. Now they will.
Yeah.
They'll be full house in football for sure.
Well, if you've ever been to Tampa, it's a beautiful city. It's a great area. So we'll see the chances next year that Brady gets Tampa back to the Super Bowl. The chances that Kansas City rebounds and gets back there.
I don't think he'd want to be back next year. I really don't. I think Buffalo will be back in the AFC, and the NFC just wide open. I still think Green Bay with Rodgers is very dangerous.
Two teams have gone to, this will be the 3 in a row. It's the Bills and the Dolphins. I would say I agree with Al. It just seems like it's impossible. You know who has to be kicking themselves? The Saints. They handled them twice.
Yeah.
They have to be kicking. The one game was 40-3 or something.
It was
The
a
first
bad
one of the year. First game of the year.
This was not a good. The only remembrance about this Super Bowl will be Brady winning his 7th. Other than that, there was no excitement, no drama. There was more excitement watching 2 squirrels race up my telephone pole. There was just nothing in this game that led you to believe this is going to have a dramatic comeback. This is going to nothing. Just didn't
It was
happen.
domination. That's what
Defense.
it was. It
Defense.
was
See, we're not
domination.
used- Eddie, over-under's 57.
It was domination.
We're not used to defense.
And let me ask you something. We could break that game down here in 15 minutes, half hour. There were 9 hours of pregame analysis of the football game. What could you say after the first hour for the remaining 8 hours that you didn't say in
And
that
they're on
first
year
hour?
round. They're on for 6 months.
People
with their-
like that, Eddie. People like I don't.
Who could
And
sit
you
there
don't,
and
we
watch
don't.
that?
But people, they're excited about that.
Hypnotizing
And,
chickens.
and once again, they're all phonies. They all pick Kansas City but one.
I thought Kansas City would win. Going by that first game when he threw for 200 yards in that first quarter, I thought Mahomes would come out and have a big game. But once again,
Toe surgery for him tomorrow, turf toe.
I thought Tampa Bay was playing better, and that's why. Remember I told you before I had Kansas City.
Yeah.
But I just thought Kansas City They didn't beat the spread for 7 or 8. They were not playing good. They were winning games, but they didn't play good. Tampa Bay has been really on the upswing.
Getting better.
Yes.
Hey, Pro Football Hall of Fame, Alan Faneca, 6'5", 315-pound guard for the Steelers.
No more. Did you see him?
He's trimmed down. He's down to about 240.
Oh, boy.
I consider him, no disrespect to Mike Webster, who was great, but the size, Webster was 6'1", 240, 245. I think Faneca was the best offensive lineman the Steelers had. Only 4 holding calls in his entire career. And along with Bill Nunn goes in, a scout. He did the great work for the Steelers with the black colleges, with players like Stallworth, Donnie Shell, and L.C. Greenwood. Very deserving for him, too.
Yeah, the Steelers were ahead of their time then. And, you because I was a big Steelers fan, you'd read Alabama, A&M, who would they, teams like that, they would always find them. And the first one was Joe Green, North Texas. My dad said, hey, they took a guy named Joe Green. He ended up being one of the greatest players of all time.
And then L.C. Greenwood were Arkansas, A.M. and N.
Yeah, yes.
The predominant black schools that Bill Nunn went into and established a relationship that really stocked the Steelers with some of their great players.
No question.
And MVP awards, Aaron Rodgers for offense and Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year. I think that's his 3rd award. He's going down in history right now. He keeps playing as the greatest defensive lineman in NFL history.
He's heading that direction.
Yes.
And I remember when he was in high school, and George and I were working out kids, and the guidance counselor said, you got to see this kid. They don't know. He's all in. He's a good student. He does everything the right way. I love him. Watch for this kid named Aaron Donald. Boy, he hit that one on the head.
On a Friday night, did the Butler Penn Hills game at Penn Hills on the radio. He played. So the next day I'm at the Pitt game, and I see this kid with a Penn Hills jacket, and I said, it looks like Aaron Donald. Went over to him, introduced myself, and said, how you doing? Who's recruiting
That's awesome.
you? Who's recruiting you? He goes, nobody. He said, just
Too
Pitt.
short. Think of
Just
that.
Pitt.
Too
how's that
short.
work? Yeah, he bought a car locally. It was like July or something, and the guy said, "Ah, you got some time off." He says, "I don't take time off."
He's tremendous.
How about the way he
He's a
looks?
good kid.
You
They're all
people put the internet on and take him with his shirt off. All these big
like a
guys
bodybuilder.
usually have a belly.
Yeah.
He looks like a bodybuilder.
6'280".
He looks like a
Really show
bodybuilder.
you don't need those 320-pounders all the time. He's so quick and strong. Hey, National Hockey League, the Pens 5-5-1. Guys, there is no power play. Malkin has disappeared, and due to COVID now, they're going to have to play 13 games in 23 days, including 3 straight against New Jersey, and they're just 1 point ahead of New Jersey in the standings. Things are not looking good for the Pens.
It's a battle. It's a battle. Early in the year, it's a battle this time of the year. Put me on tape recorder. I don't care about it in January or February. Call me back in the middle of March. They're still playing bad, Eddie.
Well,
Let me know.
I agree with you to that point, but they're down to only having their 45 games left now.
Yeah.
So you don't have a long. If you're not going to gel now, when are you going to gel? And they're taking the top 4 out of that Eastern Conference.
I'd say in March. As I said, I'll wait till March. When I see in March, and then all of a sudden they go on a 6-game winning streak, and somebody says, wow, what turned them around? They do it all the time.
Did they go out last year real fast?
In Montreal,
When they lost to Montreal, they lost to the last seeded team.
Yeah, so that's the other thing,
24th
Eddie.
seed.
That's a good point, George. They're not the same team they were either. Let's understand that. Everybody thinks they're not the favorite for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, the Players Union balking at a reduced schedule and a universal DH, good for them. How about the Dodgers? They signed Cy Young Award winner Trevor Bauer. He's going to get a 3-year, $100 million deal. The first 2 years he gets $85 million. The first year 40, then 45. His $40 million this year exceeds the Pirate payroll.
One guy.
One guy.
Think of that.
And the Pirates, we're going to eventually, they've so many guys that they've traded off, this year, 7 or 8 guys. They're going to have a team that maybe averages 23 years of age and a payroll of about $35 million.
It's truly Altoona. Now, that used to be the standard joke, but it's not a joke anymore. They're putting the team out there like a double-A team. It's a
I'd be
shame.
safe to say the Columbus Jets in the Pirates' heyday had better teams. Well, I'm serious.
I mean it, too.
The guys who come up from
Oh, no,
the
it's so
Jets.
sad. It's so sad.
One other thing, Major League Baseball is going to soften the ball to cut down on home runs. Now, remember when the balls were flying out, they denied that the balls were harder.
No.
What's this tell you? They were lying.
They were
to
lying.
us.
That's what they were. They were lying. But
What bow tie works on that? They said that after it travels 350 feet, it's going to travel 2 feet less. Who figures that out?
I don't know. We just know in the last 4 or 5 years there've been more home runs than ever, climbing, and then more strikeouts than base hits.
Well, Eddie, you led me right into what I was going to say. They could soften the ball to a beach ball, and the other guys would still strike out 3 times, try for a home run.
Mm-hmm.
The game has changed immensely. There's nobody playing the game to play baseball was invented to play. Let's strike out 3 times, try to hit a home run. Guy on second base, I don't care, he's there. Let's hit a home run. The agents money is controlling the game. Let me see your stats. I want to see your
There's a
stats.
shift. Let's hit it over there.
Never.
No, hit it over their
Never.
head.
You know,
Strike out.
it used to be you had to win 20 games to be a Cy Young Award winner. You can win 10 or 11 now, and you're the Cy Young Award winner.
Because they pitch 4 innings. That's why.
It's that everybody goes to
Analytics.
When we grew up,
That was a heyday.
Ernie Banks could not be the MVP because the Cubs were lousy.
Right.
No, the other Cy Young 2 years ago, 11 wins.
I know.
Yes, the pitcher for the
Yeah, in
Jets.
our not that
Mets.
I'm just saying, in our day, if your team didn't win, you didn't get that award.
Not only that, when Banks was playing, he had a good year, but there was Aaron, there was Mays, there
all
was Eddie
superstars.
Matthews,
I know.
there was Clemente, there were so many good, Stan Musial, there were so many good players. Baseball's glory years from those, the Yankees from the 20s in through the 70s, and then it started to die out.
Well, the game changed so much, and they still don't grasp that people don't want to see a guy strike out 3 times every game and walk back to the duck and say, what is going on here? Let's put it this way. This dinosaur doesn't want to see it. I want to see baseball triples. I want to see stolen bases. I want to see baseball the way it was supposed to be
And then
played.
they've shrunk the outfields in 400 feet to center field
no.
in most ballparks.
Down the lines, I mean,
where it used
right
to
left
be
field.
about 420, 430.
No, you're right. It's just a different. Everybody's swinging from their heels.
Every
and
bat.
their agents going in and saying, "Look at what he did."
Hey, the NBA, a number of players and many star players are criticizing and asking why they want to play an all-star game, and players who have to travel from all over the country and greater
Just get rid of it.
exposure to
How much money?
COVID.
They make a lot of money from that All-Star game, so that's why they're
Yeah,
playing.
that-
Okay.
Television.
That's
it's
it.
not. No, it's
Okay.
one thing.
Okay.
Now they can opt out but get fined.
Where's
LeBron.
the game? Atlanta. Turner. Who does the game? Who does the shooter? The 3-point and the dunk. Turner.
How much clout does LeBron have? He says he
Not
doesn't
quite
want to
that
play.
much. Chris Paul runs the league.
Okay, well, he doesn't want to play, and a number of other starters that don't want to.
Yeah, but you already said,
stars that
"I'll
don't
be
want to
there."
play. Yeah, because they don't want to. There's a hefty fine that comes with it. But I think they're right when they say that. What's the purpose of having this All-Star game? Having players fly in from all over the country.
I'm agree with you, Eddie. I agree.
And then a greater exposure to the COVID.
But I'm saying it's convenient now. But when they're hugging after the game, they don't say that.
No, that a lot of that's lost in the emotion and what happens that goes on.
Oh, I agree. It seems pointless at All-Star game. You know what I'm saying? Why this year, of all years, when you're trying to be safe?
It's true by way of all the All-Star games. We used to watch them, the Pro Bowl. They've all disintegrated into just meaningless exhibitions.
Meaningless
The only one
exhibitions.
it's a real game is baseball. It's still a real game. The others aren't even real games.
College football, all about the money. How about Texas Fire's Tom Herman? He walks away with $15 million. Then they hire Steve Sarkisian to a 5-year, $10 million plus deal. LSU fires defensive coordinator, first year Bo Pelini. He walks away with $4.6 million. And then they come back and say, hey, we have to cut back. We don't have enough money. We have to cut this minor sport. We have to cut this sport. They're such hypocrites in what they do. They throw the money where they want to throw it, and at the expense of a lot of the minor sports.
Pelini came to Youngstown. What Nebraska
Nebraska
about
won.
13 million or something?
Yeah. You know, the football was taken care of by the alumni. Like, all they had to make the call was, hey, can we get 15
We need
million?
rid of this guy.
We got to get rid of him.
15
Now, for bowling, they won't do it. But for football, there's alumni
do
writing
anything.
checks for $3 million instantly to get rid of
And
Tom Herman.
that's a problem.
Yes.
And Tennessee hires Central Florida's Josh Heppel. He's their 5th coach in the last 13 years. Is there any other program that's been on a downslide like Tennessee's?
They're delusional. See, they think it's 1965 and they're Alabama. So even when a guy goes in there like a Butch Davis or somebody and goes 8-4, they're comparing themselves to Alabama.
And they could have had a good coach in Greg
Absolutely,
Schiano.
absolutely.
Now, Urban Meyer to Jacksonville in the pros, they have not only the first pick, probably going to be Trevor Lawrence. They're loaded with draft picks. How do you see Urban Meyer working out in Jacksonville?
Well, it's going to work out perfect because he wouldn't have taken the job if he didn't know it. He knew that he's getting Lawrence, who's a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback. He knows he has cap room that he can sign 5 All-Pros.
A lot of cap.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
He wouldn't have taken the job. Urban Meyer's a brilliant egomaniac that understands.
He's got that ruthlessness about him that's key to winning.
He knows he's going to win. You're in the NFL, you can turn around quick. All you do is get 3 good draft choices and a great quarterback. You're turning around. He's going to win. There's no
And
question
he
in my
could turn
mind.
around in the second round and get
Ooh,
Alabama.
they have a good runner,
Harris.
Al.
Robinson's really good.
Yeah, hey, Eddie, they're not devoid of talent.
No,
No.
I know that. They're devoid of coaching. But then they have a chance maybe getting Devontae Smith, the wide receiver from Alabama.
Oh,
he's
gee.
going to load up right
You know,
away.
I wouldn't say they're devoid of coaching. They had no quarterback, and I don't care who you are in the pros. You can't. He would not have taken his job.
Didn't they grab
If-
Bortles
if-
thinking they were getting one?
Yeah, they did, and he
he
didn't work
didn't
out.
pan
And
out, so that cost
yeah,
them
it cost
a
him
few
a lot. Yes.
Well, talking about COVID, college basketball, so many games being suspended, postponed, Pitt again off another week, several games postponed. Players are out there on the court, they're in the locker room, they're traveling on planes. You hear a lot of coaches complaining about the exposure, but the NCAA and the colleges moving ahead for that one reason, George.
Television money.
The almighty dollar, that $800 million that's sitting there for the tournament. So these players put out there as the first responders to make this money, and you wonder why the colleges shake their heads and say, oh, these players want a union, these players want paid more, because you keep doing these types of things. This is how the players respond. There's going to come a time when the players are going to say, we're not playing.
Yeah, it's coming, no question. But this was in the makings since we've been doing this show. They would never cancel that tournament 2 years in a row because then everything would close down. They have to have that tournament.
D3
Yes.
gets $28 million from
it.
Last year they got 13. They couldn't do it another year.
And things are going to start to change this fall with the imaging.
Name, image, likeness.
Likeness,
Yeah.
and there's compensation that they want. More and more state legislatures are lining up to help these players out.
You know what I was thinking about that likeness thing? I really thought this through. I know the big time schools are going to pay off, but the big city people, the big city schools, can make this work. Somebody like a Georgia Tech in Atlanta, say, listen, you
Boston
come
College,
here, you come here. We're going to put these signs up in big. These big city schools are going to really pay
Hey,
off.
real quick on it, that's the other thing. These players, some of them are in hotels, some of them are basically quarantined in the dorm. The coaches are going home to their families at night. It's the players who are bearing the burden.
Right.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Well, we'll see what happens here, because I still think the rich will get richer. Hey, passings, Leon Spinks, 67, 1978 boxing champion with the upset of Ali. He had a difficult life. He had so much excitement then about boxing. I mean, people who didn't pay attention knew who the champ was. Today, that's all gone. People don't know my mother never followed sports. She knew who Muhammad Ali was or Rocky Marciano. The game has so gone down the drain in terms of notoriety. And I want to mention also the passing of Marty Schottenheimer, 77, Alzheimer's, Fort Cherry, University of Pittsburgh. You know, remained friends with his high school coach for years. That was Butler's Ed Heapy.
That's awesome. Yeah, he was a good coach who just never won the big one, so he never got the recognition. That's what happened.
The one fumble.
Yeah,
that
killed him,
time,
yes.
Cleveland killed him. They should have gone on and played in this Super
you're
Bowl.
right.
Hey, that is it for us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.